Alright, figured I will do something a little different. I made the tutorials on creating like a starting point for an environment. This time I'm actually gonna make an environment from scratch, if you will. I am gonna use a lot of assets that I have bought throughout the years or Megascan assets, but that's kind of what you have to do is you don't sit here and model every asset yourself when you just want to have things done, really. So that's what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start by kind of blocking out a few things, but in a nutshell, what I'm going for is kind of like a mountaintop covered area that is a very snowy vibe. So kind of very wintry with snow everywhere and some nice distant mountains with trees. This is live, so we'll probably run into issues and kind of go from there. So for the most part, it's going to be a trial and error type of deal. So what I'm going to do is start blocking out the area that I want to work with. So as I mentioned, this is going to be a snow environment, like a mountaintop. And what I do want to do is utilize this for Instagram Reels. So typically when I make these environments, I try to make them all kind of a full 360. So that way I could rotate and animate from any perspective without feeling obligated to lock in on one angle only. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a square that's kind of like my block out, if you will, for the environment. And then I'm going to create just a camera view to kind of see a perspective of how it will look like. So let's do this, a little wider lens. Zoom in, so there we go. So now it's going to be kind of slowly laying things out and detailing it, if you will. So I'm going to open up Bridge and see what kind of snow environments Megascans has to offer. So here we go. This is annoying. Let's try that again. There we go. All right, so I am going to do 3D assets, nature, and then snow. So the first thing I want to do is kind of start laying kind of like a background out, if you will. So I'm gonna grab this, and for whatever reason, my bridge is kind of corrupt. The plugin to import a 3D Max, so I have to manually do it. That's okay by me. So I'm gonna go with LOD 0, just because I don't really care for the highest res, especially it's gonna be in a distance with a pretty shallow depth of field on the camera. So there we go, pop that one back there. Now I'm just going to scale it up a bit. There we go. And so again, the idea is it's all kind of enclosed and confined. So next thing I'm going to do is link the material assets on this, which it might not even have a material. So it's got a basic default material. So I'm going to switch it up to Vray. And let me move this on the monitor so you kind of see what I see. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to do a V-Ray bitmap here. Slide this one over here as well. So there we go. Assign that one. Turn it on to preview. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. So it is assigned, perfect. Now I'm going to do very normal map, very bitmap. So very normal LOD 0, make that sharp. And then do a little bit of a reflection glossiness, 0.6. I'm going to bump this up to like 5 or 3, flip that. That should be good for the moment. Okay, rotate that around. and just move it up so that way the pavement will blend into my pavement. So there we go. Now I'm just going to go in and kind of look at what other assets we have here. So I'll grab this one as well. Throw it in the back. So the goal here is to kind of close the environment up. And then I'll just copy this material over. Any kind of name. All right. Here we go. So now we're starting to kind of close it off. And what I'll do is hide the car, so that way we can start seeing what we have going on here. Make the ground a little larger. There we go. Go into bridge, find another little asset to kind of shove in the back. So this is just kind of the boring part, but it's all gonna come to life once we add a few of these, and then we can just start copy pasting them. We don't have to get too many, especially when I do the animations. It's pretty fast camera movements and depth of field with motion blur, so I'm not too worried about it. All right, throw that one back there. I'll actually just move the ground to 0, and then that way it'll make it a lot easier to ground these assets as they come in. So there we go, we got that kind of going. Maybe add a couple more, and then I will just start kind of bending, warping, distorting, and making it happen. So I do like the stuff with the rocks. It just adds a little bit more of a detailed background asset versus it just being a pure white thing. And then we'll kind of move this one back here, kind of like that, and then move it down, because I do want the distance to actually have like beautiful mountain line. So we'll just kind of shift that one over here. So we'll have some layering of assets, but not something that kind of really blocks us off. Because the goal is to have it look like we're sitting on the epic mountaintop. So there we go. So now what I'll do is just take this one, duplicate it as an instance. There we go. Same thing with that. And kind of intersect them like that. There we go. Another one as an instance. Then maybe I'll do the back side of this one just to break it up a little bit. Mirror it just so it's a little different than the other ones. Hey Bruno, yeah, I figured it's gonna be a lot easier than doing a video and uploading it, so just figured I'll make like a 360 environment for social media reels and do a live stream while doing it. Go. All right. And we are kind of closed off. So now if I was to animate my camera rotating around the car, I'm kind of in an enclosed, confined area. So this is the starting point. This is what I typically want for my environments, is to have a closed off spot. So there we go. Now what I'm gonna go do is any of these like little corners, crevices, I'm just gonna sprinkle in a few little things like this, just to kind of fill it in and hide the gaps, if you will. So that asset's kind of floating, so that's the important thing. Make sure they're all kind of penetrating the ground. There we go. All right, so for the most part, we are good. So that's step one, is to block us in, if you will. So now what I'll do is create kind of like a little mountain range in the distance, and different ways of doing this. Again, I'm going for kind of a confined, enclosed area. So what I'm going to do is create a tube. So really big, and then make it even larger. So something like this. So let me see. If I'm right here, that is pretty far away. All right. And then, of course, I want it to be below the ground plane. So if you look at my perspective view right here, see how you kind of see the top? I don't want that. So I want to move this asset as low as it could go before it starts being visible. So there we go. So like this. So now what I'm going to do is add a great bit of subdivision to this. And you'll see why here in a second. All right. Deleting everything but the top face of the tube. Now what I have, and I found these on Google, so these are out on the web, public assets, but let me show you what they are. So maps, textures, and mountain. So here we go. It's a bunch of these little displacement maps, and they create mountain ranges. Now you could use them as a Vray displacement or Corona displacement, whatever. I literally use it as a displace modifier in 3D Max. Whoops. So load the mountain, and I just start tossing these suckers on here. So let me make sure this doesn't crash on me. It froze. Oh, it did crash. Beautiful. All right, well, let's see what we could do here to save. I don't know why the hell it crashed, but let's see if we get lucky and get our scene back. Ah, trusty 3D Max. But I think I'll be able to just bring it all back, and if not, that tube is the only corrupt asset in the file. So maybe this will help and show someone how to kind of get assets back after a crash. And if you try to open the backup and it's still crashing, this could be a good little piece of information. Sometimes it's just one item, misspoke on that word. It's just one item that could corrupt the file. So we'll see right now what happens. So auto back. So here we go. Hopefully it opens up and then I don't even have to worry about it. But if it doesn't, it could be a great little training or learning experience of knowledge. I don't know why I'm loading a Corona asset, but whatever. While that's happening, what I'll do is I'll create a new thing, a new folder for myself, snow environment. So that way I could save it. All right, so it looks like I'm still good. So let me just save this real quick. All right, it's gonna take a second. All right, now let's see if I could get this to work. Perfect. So So now what I'm doing is just bumping up the scale of this mountain. And all I have to do is just scale down the displacement box. And it looks bad in the viewport, but that's just to the lack of subdivision. So if I go in and I turbo smooth it, as you can see, the more I turbo smooth, the more detailed the mountain range gets. So now the trick here is to go in, scale this, let's say down like this, go in, connect this maybe like 20 times. This might get a little laggy. So I'll probably do like 15 or 14. So there we go. So that's good. I'm gonna apply that. Now I'm gonna select this edge, turn on soft selection. And now grow this by like 200, 500, 1500. There we go. And I am just moving this down. So let's see, 300 feet. And now I'm in like a little cone, if you will, like a little dish. And the reason why I did that is I'm gonna turn off soft selection. So now I go back to my displacement map. I'm gonna scale it up. And now it's gonna kind of like almost like feather off into the lower range. So as you can see, now we have some beautiful mountains in the background. But now they're a little too detailed, so all I have to do is just scale this up even more, like that. And as you can see, now we have a beautiful mountain range. So this is the closest to us, so I'll kind of move it around, maybe choose a different map depending on how it looks. So I'm just gonna go in, choose another displacement map. Let's see. I want something with a few more peaks. And what I might do is just layer them. And you'll see what I mean by that here in a second. So yeah, I'll scale this one down. So as you can see, now we have like one peak. Move it up. I'll take down a turbo smooth layer. So there we go. Now our mountain's a little softer. Now what I'll do is just copy this displacement and paste it. Now I'm just going to move this map over here. Scale it down a bit. That. And so now, as you can see, I'm getting a few more different mountain ranges. And so now what I want to do is just kind of rotate around and just keep adding these mountain tops. So copy, paste, choose a different map just so it's more organic, if you will. Maybe scale this one up a little bit. Rotate it. Let's see. Get a little closer to the camera. There we go. Copy, paste. So as you can see, what I'm doing now is slowly creating some mountains around the environment. So this one's getting a little too big, so I'll just kind of scale it down a bit. Change the displacement map. There we go. So rotate it around a bit. So I don't mind this because I do want a few gaps here and there so I could add more mountains even further away. So this is a very open area still. So what I'll do is just sprinkle in another displacement map just to fill in this gap. Maybe scale it up. Like so. Move this back. All right, so there we go. And then what I'll do is I'll unhide the car so I can see context of scale. So let me do that. So there's my car. I want to see how the mountains look in the background around it. So that looks kind of neat. Nice little pocket there. That's going to look good. So not too bad. This little area right here, I still want to throw something in here. So I'll throw on one more displacement map. Choose a different map from my collection. All right. Now I'm just going to sprinkle it in right here. Okay. Kind of like that. Maybe lower it a little bit. Copy and then paste it. Then move it right back here and just rotate it a little bit more. So there we go. Now what I'll do is just throw a turbo smooth on top of this just to kind of see it even round it off more. So not too bad. That one's a little big, so all I gotta go do is just hide and unhide these displacement modifiers to figure out which one of them is creating that hump. And then all I gotta do is just go in and just take it down a bit. So there we go. So let's see. All right, so there's that. Hey guys, I have the YouTube thing on the other monitor, so I'm reading the messages as they come in. Holidays were good, uneventful. I don't do holidays; it's a waste of money. So for me, it was great. I got to save money. How about you? Now I'm just going to sprinkle this one right over here just to add a little something. All right, so for the most part, I'm happy with how this looks. This is the starting base, if you will. All right, so now I'm just going to throw a generic white material on it for the moment, because I just need to see what is happening with the layering, if you will. So I'm going to hide the car. Don't care for that right now. Throw a generic white on the ground too. This will be kind of snowy tarmac, but for the moment, I'm just going to throw a normal one. All right, so let's see here. Now I'm just going to go to the V-Ray Sun. Just create a V-Ray Sun. There we go. So I'm going to save it in case it crashes. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to turn on V-Ray Frame Buffer and see how things are starting to look. And the reason why I'm doing that is I want to turn on the depth, if you will. So over here under Atmosphere, I'm adding V-Ray Aerial Perspective. For a height, I'm doing like 150. Turn this on, 0.8. And then I'm going to add an exposure modifier and take the highlight burn down. And this allows me to kind of see things. All right, so let me just turn this back on. So now I want to see how this haze is coming in the background. All right, so that's pretty nice. Not as dramatic. Let's see if it's just a matter of okay. Turn down the highlight burn a little more. These snowbanks are really getting blown out. All right, it is pretty back here. It's got a lot of that environmental haze, so that's good. So part one of the mountains is done. So now I'm going to do part two, and that's just layering, because I really like it when the environment just has that depth. So all I'm going to do is copy the same mountain thing. I'm going to scale it out, really further out. And just rotate it around. And just go in and kind of scale it like this. And now for me to be able to really understand what the hell is going on, I'm going to go into object color mode and just switch it up. See where this new mountain line is. So there we go. I'm going to turn my car back on so I could see what it looks like from when we zoom in on a car, because obviously the car is the star. The background is just the environment it lives in. So we're gonna have a few distant mountains there. Now we're inside of the tail light. Now what I'll do is go in over here, hide the car for the moment, and kind of figure out where the displacement maps are working. So I could figure out which one to bump up, move, copy. So let's see here. All right, so there's one there. So what I'm gonna do is this one, I'm gonna copy. I'm gonna paste it again. Now what I'm gonna do is kind of going over here, just shift it back here, scale it down, and just kind of give a few of these like epic layered mountains in the distance, because these are gonna be really far away now. So it's not gonna be as seen, especially with depth of field. So let's see here. Throw in another one really far away. Maybe make it smaller, so that way when I bump up the displacement map, it could just be like a little peak. All right. So this area right here gets a little boring, so I'm gonna throw in another one. Go in. Move this one back here. Shift it up. There we go. All right, this spot is getting a little dry, so same exact process. It's not anything crazy, but just adding elements in the distance. Maybe bump up the scale of that one. All right. So let's turn the turbo smooth back on. And I'll turn on the Vray frame buffer preview, and in theory we should have a lot more layering now. All right, so as you can see, it's starting to get there, except me personally, I like to have it very kind of hazy, if you will. So it's not quite hazy. So I'm gonna go right there. Because where these green elements are, it should be quite hazy. So to fix that, all I'm gonna go do is back to this one, maybe like 3000. 50, 150. So it was a height thing. So now, as you can see, it's really hazy. So this is like a mountaintop peeking through the environment distance, which is kind of cool looking. All right, I am now happy with how that's feeling. So let's see, bump this up to 1. Where is my Vray sun? So what I'm going to do here is just kind of give it a kind of coolish winter vibe. Okay. All right, so there's that. So now what I'm going to want to try to do is start sprinkling a few details on the mountains. No real texturing yet. Right now it's just kind of detailing things. So got a bunch of these trees. I don't remember where I got these from, but I got these along with like max tree assets. So all I'm going to do is start grouping things. So for this one, we just call these pine trees. And what's going to happen now is once I start doing this forest pack stuff, a lot of this is going to start getting covered up. So what I'm going to do is I like to work with shapes to really figure out how detailed my assets or how dense the assets get, especially with forest pack. Sometimes it's a little too crazy. So you'll see what I mean here in a second. So circle 1, these are going to be like my mountaintop trees. Circle 2, I don't know how many of these we're going to see, but these are going to be like closer in the foreground trees, like right near the edge. And what I might end up doing for those even is just creating my own cylinder down here. That way I can have a little bit more control over it. But you know what? That's what I will do. I don't want to waste my energy on that. So, okay, I made a selection set, called it pine trees. So now all I'm going to do is, and I love working with layers to keep, especially forest pack assets, organized. So forest pack. So there we go. So now what I'm going to do is create a i2 software, forest pack pro. Just drag an icon in top view. So what I'm going to do is right away, first before I start adding the assets, so it makes it a little easier on the system, is I'm going to add the surface. Always do auto on my end. That's my thing, is I don't want any camera clipping, so make sure that is off. Now I'm going to do for areas, I'm going to uncheck surface, make sure that's not on. I'm going to do an area, which is the circle. Make sure that's included. Force open spline, and I'm going to do like 200 feet. And now what I'm going to do is go to geometry, add a list, load my selection set, and there we go. So now I got pine trees around the area that I want. It's taking a second to load. So now, as you can see, so here they are. Now what I have to do is figure out, is this the circle I want, or do I want to go a little bigger? So let's go 3,000, 4,000. So right here, I kind of got the pine trees on the hills, which is kind of nice, but I do want to break it up and bring in some closer. So now what I'm going to do is add another circle. Just do something like this. So now go back into forest pack, and under areas, I'm going to include this other circle. So there we go. And right now, as you can see, it's making it full. Like everything inside of this circle is full. I don't want that, because that could also kill your just RAM, and it's unnecessary. So what I do is always force open. Now, if you want it full, you can. So it's just kind of, I guess you could say, up to you and your environment that you're working on. For this situation, I don't do closed. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do some transform elements. So for this one, I'm gonna do like 2,000, 2,000. And what this is doing is just spreading the trees up. All right. Obviously, I want scale, so I'll make some really big ones, some small ones. Now for the distribution of it, so let's hide this. I don't want dense, I want patches. I want it to feel a little bit more organic, like it comes and goes. And then for the sake of testing, I'm gonna do 2,000. Now I'm gonna turn on RT and see how dense my background is with the trees. All right, so that's kind of neat. In my opinion, a lot of open spots currently. So I do want a little bit more dense. So all I have to do is bring down the density to like 1,000. I'm gonna take a look at that. So this is a little too dense. I'm gonna want to see some of the pockets and holes. So I'm gonna probably go in between the two, so 1,500. So there we go. That's feeling pretty nice. Let's see what these other perspectives are looking like. Awesome. And I really like this. The way there's pockets, you can see the shadows fall. You can see the details of the mountain. To me, this is it's fun to look at. If it was just all trees, it'd be a little bit too much. All right, so there's our first background. Now, this other background back here, it might be a little overkill to use these high poly winter trees. I'm just gonna go for it and see what happens. So same concept, a circle shape, but what may happen here is actually we might have to break it up. So as you can see, this is a very, very large surface now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a circle shape, of course, top view. And what may happen now is because just scattering too many things, like forest pack might start lagging, performance, things like that, especially because I don't like turning off, or I don't like using camera clipping. Eventually you could dial it in. For me, it's easier to turn it off until I start having things crash on me, and then I turn it back on. So this is my method to figuring or fixing this situation. So let's see. I'm gonna go in. Oh, for the moment, I'll just do a quick test. So let's just do that and then see what happens. So circle, so I'm gonna do another thing. And me personally, I like to organize my forest pack assets in layers. One's the forest pack assets, another one is forest pack shapes. That way I know these circles are gonna be the shapes for distribution. That's just, again, my own personal workflow, each their own. So let's do this. So I'm gonna name this one Pine Trees Middle. This one, Pine Trees Far A. Make this a big capital P. And same thing here, just to have it consistent. All right, so Far A. And the reason why I did Far A, because I have no clue what the hell is gonna happen with performance. So it may be a bunch of these, maybe get away with one. We shall see. And so now I'm going to do a surface, delete this, I'm going to add that. And oh my, it's not even making a dent. So let's do this. Let's see what happens if we change, first of all, the open size of the area. So right now we're at 200 feet. Let's do 3,000. 2,000. Okay, so it's the density thing. So in distribution, this little max density is somewhere right here. I'm gonna do this one 0. So there we go. So now I got trees in the background, but as you can see, it's really like it's not doing much in terms of actually making it happen. So let's just move them back here. And then typically what I'll do too is when it comes so far away, so first of all, distribution, I'm gonna bump this one up to 3,000. Now under transform, this is where I start really faking the scale of things. So instead of 200, I'll do like 1,000 and 500. So now we're adding our own exaggerated scale for the trees. So let's see what this looks like with a live preview. All right, so it's loading. And it might, okay, so it is showing them. Cool, cool, cool. All right, so as you can see, even this, because of now how big they are, it's feeling a little too dense. So what I'll do is 5,000 for distribution. I want to see more gaps. So there we go. Turn on preview again. Because I want to be able to see some mountain terrain, some gaps, so something like that. I'll do a real preview zoom. Now, obviously, these are feeling a little too big, so I may have pushed it a bit much. So I'll do, let's say, 600, 300. All right, distribution, we're at what, 11,000? Let's go to 8,000. Okay, so that's not awful. So now all I want to do is take this shape. I'm going to convert that as spline. Now what I'm going to do is start. So, okay, as you can see, this pocket is not getting any snow. So all I'm doing is kind of offsetting the shape. I'm going to be moving it on my own of where I want the snow to be. So there we go. So this one's not getting anything over here. Like that, just kind of sprinkle some trees in there. Perfect. All right, this is really empty. So what we'll do, same thing. So we're looking right here. Move that one in. Let's just do a reset. All right. Perfect. All right, now I'm going to sprinkle in a few trees in this area. Just so it feels more detailed. Reset tangent. Here. Let's see. All right. This little mountain back here needs a few trees on that. There we go. Gonna make that one a corner, and then that way I just worry about one. All right, so now that I got that, oh, looks like I have one more mountaintop to sprinkle some trees on. I'm just gonna do corner on this so I could quickly. There we go. All right, we're almost done. Looks like this one could use a little bit more right here. There we go. Perfect. I'm going to save it because now I have no idea if this is going to crash or not. This is a lot of trees, a lot of high poly trees at that. All right, almost there. All right, let's turn on Vray frame buffer and see if we have a functional background for the moment. All right, looks like we still have trees. Forest pack didn't crash. Beautiful. Now what I might have to do is turn this on right here. Let's see. Yep, I needed that. I needed the background to blur out. Perfect. All right, that's feeling good. Now the only thing that I'm noticing here is like the trees feel like they're in lines, if you will. So to fix that issue, all I'm gonna do is go to the top view, select my farm trees, and then I am going to offset this from 2000 to like 8000. And that might even not be enough. So let's do 12,000. All right, so now the other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this to be a little bit more dense. Actually, I'm going 22,000. I'm going all out. So with my latest environment that I was working, I found this nice little loophole. So let's do 15,000 on the units. And in theory, what this is gonna do is it's gonna create a big gap. So if I just turn on a preview of the background mountains, you're gonna see a lot of holes in our fill, which is fine. There's a reason why I kind of want that. So now, yeah, as you can see, yeah, our background's kind of weak. Like these are very boring mountain ranges. So what I'm gonna do, this is why I did A, duplicating it to B, and I'm leaving everything as is, except in the general tab, all I'm gonna do is where it says random seed, I'm just changing this to 1. Now I'm gonna duplicate it to C, change it to 2. So this was a nice little easy way I found to have Forest Pack get me very dense backgrounds without like crashing, because it has limits and it doesn't like to like force a lot of scatter assets in the distance within, especially the distance that I'm using. So now when I duplicate it with not a lot of distribution, but then change the seed, it keeps the foundation the same, but changes the scattering. So as you can see, it's still previewing, like RT's turning on very quickly, but now these mountains are becoming beautiful and packed with trees. And so what I'll probably end up doing is going back and duplicating that like 3 more times. And that should fill my background up to feel very nice and dense, yet still very system friendly and render farm friendly, because all my render nodes are 64 gigs of RAM. So it's always me trying to make sure I find ways to be able to still render this on the farm. Because if I can't render a scene, it doesn't matter how pretty it is, because at the end of the day, I have to make sure I could create animations for my clients. All right, F. So there we go. That should feel really nice and dense now. All right. And as you can see, RT is turning on real quick. And I have a lot of trees back here now. Awesome. Okay. So now what I'll do is F, G. All right. Ahmed, I will, but I'm just not going to start jumping around and going to texturing without detailing my environment first. I lay out the foundation and then I come in with the texturing. That's the last step. All right. So that's how that's feeling. We got trees in the foreground or mid, trees in the background. And then the last thing I want to do is sprinkle in some trees in the very tight foreground to just give it that sense of we are up in the mountains. So to do that, I'm going back to my foundation, and now instead of it being a plane, I'm making it a cylinder. So I'm gonna do something like this. So now I'm gonna really dense it up. There we go. So let's see here. Name this layer foreground. So I am going to hide. All right, so for forest pack, I'm making a sub layer. Name it forest pack background. Put all these trees in there. Hide that. Hide the forest pack shapes for now. Now I am going to make a new layer, call this one background. So I like to just be able to quickly isolate, delete, move, hide. Okay, so now I got my foreground. Now, just like I did on the initial mountain range, I'm selecting these edges, soft selection. So let's see, 50, let's do 40. And now I'm just gonna shift them down. So there we go, like so. Now I feathered off my horizon line on the mountains near me. So now what I'm gonna do is turbo. Well, let me turn off soft selection. There we go. I'm gonna turbo smooth this like 2 times. And now I'm gonna do the same thing as I did with my background mountains. Well, let me save it. But I'm gonna add a displace modifier, and all I'm doing here is a few subtle bumps in the foreground and in this little mountain range behind it. And this way I could help blend in the Megascan assets along with making it not a perfectly like razor sharp horizon line, if you will. So this is just my own little opinion of how I like to do stuff. Doesn't mean it's the right way, but it's just something that I like doing. All right. So loading in that. Let's do 5 feet. I'm doing very subtle. All I want to do is just sprinkle in a little bit of a bump, so it's not a perfect surface. Now all I'm going to do is keep going in, pasting it, and changing the map types. Let's see what that's looking like. So there we go. All right, add another one. Yeah, Bruno, that's why I can't do Corona. When I used to use it, I used to run into a lot of system crashes, even with 128 gigs of RAM. So for me, I can't trust Corona as a render engine to work with not only my environments, but the CAD data. Because like right now I'm doing a pack shot for a client and we are using 7 CAD models. It's crazy how many vehicles we have to put in a pack shot, and it's going to be rendered out like 9,000 pixels. And in the past, when I was using Corona, now I haven't used it in a while, but when I did, just trying to do one car, when I was doing a catalog for the Ford Expedition when it first was launched, it was just medium format photos as the back plates. We were rendering 12,000, 13,000 pixel images, and it just kept crashing. So after that, I said I will never use Corona for kind of like a final production, if you will. I just don't trust it. It's an amazing render, but if it can't deliver on client work, I can't use it. All right, so now I'm just finishing off on adding a few of these irregular bumps in my actual foreground, because again, I'm gonna blend snow into like a snowy tarmac, so I do want bumps and lumps that would represent kind of like snow piles, if you will. So there we go. Almost done. All right, I'm happy with this for the moment. So now the last thing I want to do is create a few subtle bumps on the edges of this. So let's see, scale this map out. I'm not even gonna waste my energy on that, delete. So I'm gonna create a new thing. So this is still in the foreground. So I'm gonna create a tube, kind of like this. Three. So there we go. Now what I'm going to do is add a noise modifier to this one. Hey, how are you? All right, now I'm just making this a little lumpy like this. And add a little bit of more of a regular. Cool. So all I'm going to do now is add another forest pack. So in the forest pack, I'm going to create a new sublayer. Call it forest pack foreground. And this is where I'm just going to add some trees that are just going to be kind of like the tips of them to kind of give us that concept of we are really high up and these trees are barely making it to us, if you will. So same thing, patches. All right. And you know how I'm in earlier I said I don't do the full thing. In this situation I will do a full thing because I don't really care to have it isolate a certain region, if that makes sense. So you'll see what I mean here in a second. All right, so same exact thing, pine trees, load. All right, and then areas, I'm just gonna turn on surface. There we go. All right, so as you can see, we got the trees, but we don't see them, which is okay. So first thing I'm gonna do is distribution, bump this up. I don't want that many trees, perfect. And now I'm gonna do transform, enable scale. And a matter of fact, I'm gonna go into here, kind of backtrack a little bit. And on these in the distance, I forgot to turn on rotation. I always want to turn on rotation for that organic perspective look of the trees. So just quickly turn these on. All right, so now I'm gonna go in, select this surface, and kind of gently bring it up until I start seeing some trees poking through, which as you can see now, we start seeing them. So now what I'm gonna do is just kind of take a look, and I want that organic look. So higher, lower, things like that. I want to see it in lumps, but still open. So turn on Vray frame buffer again. Taking my little temporary snow material, which is just gray. That's all it is. It's just gray. And I'm gonna turn on RT to kind of see what it looks like. Okay. That's kind of nice. I don't mind the gaps because this time I'm not going for like too crazy. I just want some trees in the foreground to help sell the environment a little better. And I'm just BSing my way with an environment, so it might not even be realistic in terms of how it would work with real mountain ranges or whatever, but whatever. Okay, so I don't mind that. What I'll probably do is bump up this noise a little more. Really give it a weird vibe. All right, turning on background trees along with my background mountains. So now I'm gonna save it again, just so it doesn't crash on me. So bear with me while it saves. Yeah, I don't know about the best part, but I'm happy to share what minimal knowledge I do have. All right, so now I'm gonna turn on RT that it's saved, and let's see what this is starting to look like. Awesome. Okay, so as you can see now we have the layering that I was mentioning. We have these mountains in the very far distance, some in the mid-range, and now we have some trees in the close foreground. And I don't have depth of field on yet, and once that turns on, it's gonna look really nice. It's just gonna be super gooey back there. It's gonna look sweet. So let's see. As you can see with the environment thing, I left the peaks away from the haze or the fog from the distance, so it's like the mountains are breaking through the sky. And again, the whole concept of layering. These are not layered. These are pretty sharp in terms of contrast, and then just gets further and further away from us. So awesome. All right, so I am pretty happy with that. Sweet. All right, now some final little bits of detail in the foreground, and we should be pretty good to go. So what I'm gonna do is force pack foreground. All right, and turn on force pack shapes. So the one thing I want to do is now go in and create some quick lines around my surface. So let's see here. Select these elements and put it into my foreground layer. So let's hide the background. This one, perfect. All right, I'm hiding this one for the moment. So let's unhide this. And now I'm going to go into a line. Perfect, and I can just draw it right here without having to move it. So I'm gonna just do this. Go to the line. Now I'm going to quickly create a few lines. All right, so there we go. And the reason why I did this, let me hide this real quick. So I'm going to call this selection set winter bushes. And this one's winter debris. All right, so now I'm going to show this again. Perfect. I got to make sure I put these shapes into my forest pack shapes layer. That way it's easy to keep track of everything. All right, now in the forest pack foreground, I am going to create a new forest pack. All right. So now I am going to go in here for surface. I am selecting my orange ground, which is the cylinder. For areas, I'm adding my little shape that I just made. Force open spline, make it probably 5 feet. I don't need it too big. Now for distribution, again, patches, just a random one for the moment. I'll do like 750 feet. And then for geometry. So first thing I'm gonna do is winter bushes. So I want to add some of these sweet, like snow-covered bushes in the foreground. All right. So let's see what this looks like. Oh, and one last thing, transform. So rotation, scale, and transform. So now I'm gonna turn on preview again. And see if we have to change the distribution amount. So as you can see, now we got some little bushes here and there. I'd like more. So for the moment, I'll turn off RT so it doesn't crash on me while I change this value. So I'm gonna do 300 instead of 750. All right. So again, it's just miscellaneous details now. I don't want too many, but enough to have some here. All right, so where's my camera looking? Right here. For whatever reason, this is not giving me any bushes. So what I'll probably do, and sometimes Forest Pack gets weird with shapes, like for me having one object. So what I'm gonna do is quickly go in and just detach these into independent shapes. And let's see if that fixes the problem. So I'm gonna go in under areas. I'm just gonna add another spline. Force open, 5 feet. Ooh. Okay. Now I'll probably change distribution to, so it's probably just, oh, there we go. So now I got it. Now what I do want to do is change the transform to like 200 instead of 20. Maybe I'll change a different type of patch and then I could make it larger. So let's see what that's looking like. All right, so we got a few little bushes here and there, just some miscellaneous details, if you will. And the last thing I'm gonna do is add some of those like little pieces of debris. So what I'm gonna do is, so this is gonna be actually the easier way for me to do it, is I'm gonna unhide my car. So as you can see, we are not perfectly centered, but I don't care. It's not that big of a deal for me. The one thing I do want to do is get this little displacement map right here, just a little further away from my vehicle. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is, let's say this is my base of where I'm going to put the car for when I render them. I'm going to create a circle shape around my car. This is like my safety buffer. This is where I don't want anything to interact. So now I'm gonna go in and just kind of manually offset it to adapt to the environment that we have. So kind of like this. There we go. Now what I'm gonna do is create a new circle around the outside edges. And these I'm gonna put them into forest pack shapes. Perfect. Okay. Now, under the forest pack thing, I'm creating a brand new forest pack element. All right, I'll do patches again. Transform, I'll just turn this stuff on again. Surfaces, where's surfaces? Select this orange area again, perfect, all right. For geometry, I'm going to open up my little selection set and I am doing winter debris. So this is going to be some final miscellaneous bits of detail on the area. So now I'm selecting this shape and it's on, and these are tiny elements. So as you can see, they're all over the place now. And now what I'm going to do is create another selection. I'm going to do exclude. There we go. So now as you can see, we have the debris, but it's not coming into the area of the car. And to help kind of feather it out so it doesn't look like we have a razor sharp edge, I'm just going back into the transform. And let's say 100. And this should help it kind of get into the area. There we go. As you can see, we're making the penetration, but we're not touching. So I'm gonna hide the car and turn on RT to see how this little final piece of debris looks like. There we go. It's just miscellaneous junk. Nothing too crazy, but just something to break things up, give us highlights, shadows, things like that. So it's not a perfectly flawless foreground. All right, so now that we have that, we can start kind of trying to texture this stuff up. So let me save this. And I am going to be obviously just using this stuff, bridge, quixel. So surfaces, I'm going to first do a snow. So let's do fresh snow. This is what I'm going with for the base. All right, so I'm gonna hide the forest pack things. I don't care for it right now. Hide all the shapes. So now let's start with this. So snow foreground. And right away, I am going to make it a Vray blend material because that's what I'm going to be working with here. So materials, Vray blend. Disregard that one. All right, so my base is obviously the snow. So here, material, here, Vray bitmap. Actually, what I'm going to do is a general composite. Keep that. Duplicate. Copy. Change it to multiply. Change this to AO. There we go. Make sure this is nice and sharp. Add a Vray randomizer. All right. Copy that one. And there we go. All right, now we're starting to get the snow going. So now this one, very normal map, very bitmap, normal, paste the bump this up to like 3. There we go. All right. All right, so now let's see what this looks like, and then let's see what bridge tells me. All right, it should be like, yep, 2 by 2. So with me, that's 6 feet by 6 feet. All right, view frame buffer, and turn on a preview. So I'm just trying to sprinkle some snow over here. So there we go. We're getting some snow. Perfect. Now what I'm going to do is turn the multiplier down like 35. Let's go to 10. Perfect. Now let's see what the bump's doing. So it is working. Perfect. Might be a little too much. So let's go down like 2. Awesome. All right, so that's feeling pretty good. I'm going to bump up the reflection properties just a little bit more. Get that snow a little more wet. All right. All right, so turning that off. Now I want another snow material to blend into this one to kind of help it out. So fresh snow, perfect. So I'm gonna just copy this one. And what I like doing to make life a lot easier to know what is being used where is I make the name of the material match the name that I use from these Megascan assets. So it makes it so easy to figure out what's going where. So all I have to do is just search this name in my server and I can find it. So the next one is this fresh snow. So copy the directory to that. And all I'm going to do is just go in and swap out the maps. Yo. Normal, and then last but not least is the gloss. Okay, so now I got the fresh snow. I'm making my blend color black. I don't want it to do that. What I do want to do is load a map for blending. So here we go. I'm going to load in one of these maps. All right. And so now what I'm going to do is probably something like this. However, what I want to do is figure out how the tiling is looking. So as you can see, for me, this is a little too much. So I'm going to do the Vray randomizer. This time I'm doing 0.2, 0.2. All right. And now I'm going to take a preview of what's happening. So now in theory, the snow should start feeling a little bit more organic where it's not the same snow being used. So as you can see, we're starting to feather it off. Now what I'll probably do is go in and bump this up to like 5. Just so I do have a little bit more detail popping out. Maybe turn this one down a little bit. Perfect. So now my snow is starting to feel more organic like snow. And next step is to kind of repeat this a few more times. Use different blend maps and then just keep adding new snows into the mix. So Now I'm gonna go here, adding a different snow. There we go. And here we go, AO. And what I'm actually going to do is, before I do any more, go back to preview. And I might have to bump up the AO of the second snow because it's not as dramatic as the first one. So it might be nice to get some of the details into it. Okay, I don't mind that. And what I'll do is I'll turn highlight burn down all the way just so I can see what's happening with my snow material. Let's see if adding contrast or taking it down helps. Because it is going to be a pure white element, but this way kind of helps see what is happening. So perfect. All right, so turning this one back on. And we already did those two mats. For bump, going over here. Normal, perfect, and glossiness. All right, and what I'll do for the moment is just make this pure white and see what this material looks like before I start blending it into the other two snows. All right, so as you can see, this one's got a lot of detail. So what we probably have to do is turn the bump down to like 3, maybe even 2. All right, I'm okay with that one. That's 10, perfect. All right, so now same exact thing is we're just blending things now. Just blending away more and more. So I'm gonna go in and use a different map. So I used this one previously. Again, white's what it shows, black's what it doesn't. So I'm just gonna select this map, see what it's doing. Okay, turn on RT. And now I can see a little bit more organic snow. So there we go. I'll bump this stuff back to kind of like this. So as you can see, this is feeling pretty neat. Starting to get a lot. So what I'll do is melting snow. I'll sprinkle this one in the mix. Why the heck not? And that should take care of, for me for the moment, in terms of the snow layers. So I'll change this one to this name. And whoops. Accidentally clicked on the color correction thing and I don't want that, so all right. Normal, and then glossiness is the last one. Perfect. And then what I'll do is same thing like the other one, make this pure white and take a look at what this texture looks like on the ground. Okay, that's pretty cool looking. All right, and now we'll just blend this one into the rest of them. So let's see where we sprinkle this one in. Let's do something like this. Take a preview of the map. This might be a little too blurry. Let's do this. All right, that could be cool. So let's take a look at the final snow area. All right, so that feels good to me. We have a lot of different snows in the mix, if you will. Got some grungy snow, some like windy snow, some lumpy snow. So for the most part, I'm happy with how the snow looks. So now it's time to sprinkle in some tarmac. So that's the snow. Now let's do pavement. So ground. No. Asphalt. All right, so I want something dark and rich. All right, that looks kind of neat. Okay, So now let's do this. There's two ways I could do this. Think of it in terms of the negative or the positive of the road. So what I'm going to do is create a new material right here, just offsetting it a little bit. And again, name it according to my Megascans asset. Vray bitmap. All right. All right, and now I'm just gonna make this one just like the others, pure white for the sake of seeing what it is that's happening. And turn on RT. All right, so there is my tarmac, and let me confirm what size it is. 2 by 2 meters. Okay, perfect. So now what I want to do is bump up the bump amount. Maybe 2. Make sure I didn't flip it. That's the reason it looked weird. Okay. And then what I will do is make this again a composite material. Keep it. Duplicate this one, copy, multiply, and put in the AO map. All right, and then what I will do too is, because again, you know how I mentioned I want dark and rich, I'm just gonna bump down the RGB value. I can't figure out why it's not doing it. That is a multiply. Okay, good. So it's probably due to my reflection of the surface. So I'm just bumping this down. There we go. That's getting a little more rich. And now I do want to get it a little bit more wet looking. So see where it says glossiness from 100. I'm taking this down to like 60 and changing this to like 0.8. And actually what I will do in the reflection slot, I'm going to add a map. I'm going to give myself some irregular highlights on that surface. So that way it just doesn't feel like a perfect ground. Honestly, I think so. I don't plan on not letting it upload. So I know when I did a test today before I started this live stream, it did post my live test. So yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't allow it to be uploaded. It's just a work in progress that I'm doing, so I figured a live stream might be kind of cool for people to see. But yeah, I definitely don't mind sharing this information with people. Okay. All right, so that is giving me some little irregular hotspots, like shades, and I like that. It just makes the ground feel a little bit more organic. What I'll probably do is bump this reflection map up a little bit though. Okay, there we go. So now I have my little tarmac surface. And I'm gonna turn this back to black. All right, so there we have, now we have our snow and we have our tarmac. And now I want to start blending these things all in. So I'm gonna save it because this is where from time to time I have Vray crash the stuff for me, so I don't want to risk it. Now let's see what happens. Okay, so I got my car. Let's take a look at where that is, because now I want to start blending the tarmac into the snowy surface. So what I'm gonna do is create a new layer. I'm gonna call it Vray distance text, and this is just objects that I'm gonna create for blending the areas. So what I'm going to do is create a circle around the car, convert to editable spline. just like before, kind of blending it out like that. All right, perfect. Now what I'm going to do is add a modifier to it, normalize spline, show knots. There we go. Now I'm going to add a noise modifier to it. And let's see here, 500. And all I'm doing is just kind of making it feel a little bit more organic, if you will. So there we go. There's my little circle shape. Probably bump down the scale a little bit more. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to do an extrude modifier. All I need this to do is penetrate the ground. So like so. Object properties, not renderable, and then what I'll do is display as box, so that way it's just not in the way. So now for the tarmac floor, I am going to do a composite material for the alpha of it. Sorry, composite. There we go. So for the base, this is just so I could understand what I'm looking at. It might not even be necessary. I'm just making this black, a Vray color black. Done. Now what I'm doing is another one. This one, I am going to do a Vray distance text, like so. I'm adding my box that I just created. So far color, I'm making it black. For the moment, all I want is inside separate color, like this. So now if I turn on, and let me hide the car. I don't want the car in the way. I'm gonna go kind of like this, Vray frame buffer, preview. And so now what should be happening is I should be blending. It will be razor sharp, but it is blending the tarmac with the snow background like that. So there we go. What I will do is I'll go back to this object properties, visible as a shape. I'm going to add a turbo smooth to this, but just smoothing groups. That way it's just rounded edges. Now I'll do a display as box again. All right, so now what I'm going to do is inside color solid, I'm going to add, let's say 25 units. For near color, I'm changing it to white. And then this is where the composite of this comes into play. So I'm going to do a Vray bitmap. And then I want something different. So I have this dirty masks folder. I am going to do something like this one right here. All right. So as always, Vray randomizer. All right, let me see what this map's looking like. So that's a little too tiled. 0.5, 0.5. Oh, I gotta go in here, sorry. And then what I'll probably do is for scale as well, from 50 to 100. So it gets a little more organic overall. So now I'm turning on Vray preview again. All right, now I should have this edge start to blend, if you will. And this is where now changing the units is going to come into play. So I'm doing real zoom. And as you can see, it's razor sharp. That's okay. Let's do like 50. So 150. So as you can see, now we're blending, but it's too damn sharp right here. Now the trick there is I am doing inside color. I'm going to do a copy. And then actually I'm going to do an instance. So now we have this beautiful seamless transition, but we got the snow everywhere. And this is why we did a composite material. So now I'm going to turn this down. I am going to save this because this is again where the crashes are starting to happen for me in the past. So I've learned to just save. It takes a second. And it works. All right. All right, now I'm just gonna duplicate this. And it's just a stupid, kind of like a awful reaction to this. And let me see if I turn the inside off. So I'm honestly drawing a blank how I did this in the past, but I remember I did this. I think it was because I did the opposite. So let me see if swapping this out will do it. All right, well, let me just think this through real quick. If I turn this off, we have this done. This is the only downside of me doing these types of things live, because I usually do, this is where I start troubleshooting things. So there we go. So that's feathered. Now I just got to feather it into a more of a black fill. So let me just turn this on. All right. Swap this out again. 25. And then I'm gonna feather. So let's do inside solid. Do 50. Well, you know what I'll do? Screw that. I know an easier way of doing this. So there we go. So that's blending perfectly. What I'll do is I'll select this. Object properties, visible to camera. I'll copy this one. Just do it like this. Shoot it out. So I'll make another version of it. All right. Now I can just copy this viewer distance text. Instead of this one, I'll select this one. And now the inside color, I'll just do something a little more like that. There we go. And now I could take this map, put it over here as an instance. Now let's take a look at what's happening. I'm going to do a multiply. Let's do a darken. Oh no, I do want, okay. Inside fill solid color. So this in theory should be white. Let's see what the heck is happening here. Oh, that's why, normal. Okay. So if I do lighten, because it's white, whatever's white is visible. So let's feather this off now. All right, near. 10 and 10. All right, so there we go. We're blending it off a little bit more. Nice. Okay. So that's what we got going on. Now I got to figure out where this car is. Display as box. Okay. So now let's see how it actually looks blending in near the car, because it might not look that great. We'll find out here in a second. I might just have to do a more aggressive black and white alpha and just make it more spotty near the vehicle. And that might actually look better, just to have snow everywhere. Not like it's a perfectly paved area. So I'm turning on RT, that's why nothing's happening. But We'll see how this looks right now. All right, so yeah, I don't really like that. That's just, it looks awful. I'd rather have it like spotty than what we got going on now. So I'm making this 100 and 100. And then all I'm gonna do is go in and change it to a different type of alpha. So from that, I'm going to something, let's see what this does. Okay, that's not bad. There we go. So we're starting to fill it up with more tarmac. So let me hide the car now and see how the transition's looking. So if I turn that off, I just want to see what's happening. So light. Okay, so I don't mind what's happening here, but I do want to see more of the tarmac. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a map into the alpha slot of the alpha, and this is where it gets very confusing to keep up with what's going on. It's just it's blending a bunch of alphas together at this point. So let's do this, something like this. Your randomizer. All right. Now we'll see what's going to happen. Okay. And to give you an idea of what is happening, let me do this. So this is without the alpha, and this is with. So I'm allowing myself to have that blending of this map, and now I'm only using a portion of this map. Because if I turn it off completely, it's just too much for me right now. So this makes it feel a little bit more of what I want to see, where it's just splotty snow. So let's zoom into the car level. So as you can see, now we have hints of tarmac showing, and it's just kind of like just cleaned up snow, if you will. That's the idea that I'm going for here. And then what I could do, let's see what just throwing a overall bump or a map will do, something like this. Let's do lighten screen. All right. So I'm gonna do some big patches like that. And then for the blending of it, I'm doing another map. So let's do like something tiny. Just so I have more kind of like random spots of tarmac visible, if you will. I'll probably use a different map. Just to give it a little bit more of an organic feel. There we go. And then, since this is the tarmac, I do want more snow overall. I was kind of really digging the way it looked with the snow. So let's just do another Vray bitmap. So black. We'll do something like this right here. And then another randomizer. 0.2. And then what I will do is turn that off, make this a Vray distance text. Vray distance, so where the heck is it? Okay. Select this inside. So far color. Let's see what this does. All right, so if I make it all black, nothing's happening. If I make it pure white, so there we go. Now let me see what that did. Just sprinkled in a little bit more aggressive. Oh, I don't do slate. I can't. You know, when you mentioned the whole how do you not get confused, if I was using slate, I'd be confused. To me, this all makes sense. I could remember what I'm doing, where I'm doing it. All right, so now that I have that, the last thing I want to do is, well, actually, I might not even have to worry about it. Let's do that. Let's just go back and see what it looks like as a whole from the car's perspective. So we got the car down here. We got this over here. So let's do some depth of field, 5, 6. All right. We're gonna do background, forest pack, all the goodies, turn it on. All right, and turn on a real-time preview. And before I do that, I'm gonna save it just in case, because we got a lot of stuff that's about to turn on now. And then if this is looking good, I might add some chunks of snow. If I got it, we'll see. And then after that, it's, oh no, I know what I want to do after too. Is I'll throw some stuff on the background mountains to have some like rock and snow, and that should wrap it up for me. And then I could do a reel, throw it on the farm, and post it on Instagram. All right, so I'm turning on RT. It'll take a second. There's a lot of stuff to look at. We'll take a look here in a second. All right, so I really don't like this stupid, nasty, low-res looking thing. Not a fan of that. Let me see here. There we go. And what I might end up doing too is just taking this to like 50%. So I kind of do like the way the snow-capped terrain looks. So the tarmac's there, but it's just not dominant anymore. So there we go. We got all of our trees. We have our like semi-clean floor, some debris in the background. In all honesty, the mountains you could barely even see anyways, so I might just leave as is. Might just throw this material on there, like without this. Call it a day, so let's do this. Mountains, background. And then I'll just delete this. All right. Alrighty, throw a UV map on there. Hopefully it won't crash. Perfect, it did not crash. So I'm just gonna make this, let's do 15 feet by 15 feet. I know it should be 6 by 6, but it's so far away, it doesn't even matter. All right, so there we go. Now my mountains have a UV map on them too. So with the depth of field, it gets very blurry back there. I don't really have to waste any energy doing much to the actual like material. I know in real life you will have like bits of rock and such showing underneath the snow in places, but with the way the trees are scattered back there, they almost do that for me. So let's do V-Ray Sun, throw in some clouds. All right. I'm not upset at this at all for a quick little, I mean, it wasn't quick, but a live working session, making an environment from scratch. So let me see if in my little assets, got any snow piles. I do have chunky snow. So I'll just make a selection set called snow. Let's see what this does. And this will be like the final little piece of detail. So we'll just select all of our foreground assets. I'll hide the car overall, I don't want it right now. All right. And actually, let me just hide what I don't need. So distance text. I don't need force pack background. I'll turn on the shapes. There we go. Now I'll do is one more force pack foreground object. I'll call this snow. Do a surface. Select that, auto. And then areas. I'm doing the selection of this little circle out here. There we go. And then under the geometry, I'm going to do snow. There we go. Now for areas, again, open, 25. All right, so let's see what this does. See what this looks like. It should just be like chunks of snow. Yeah, there you go. All right. And now what I'll do is transform. Turn all these three on. And I'll probably do a lot more density. Let's see what this looks like. So this is going to be like the final little thing of something happening. Little chunks of snow. we go. Just to spice it up even more. Just breaks it up with a little bit more miscellaneous detail. All right. So that's that. I am, in a nutshell, done with this. And then let me see if I just left it as snow floor. Yeah. Probably just bump it down even more so it is more snowy. And then what I think I'll do is add a little bit more imperfections. So my little snow ground, you know how I said displacements, keep it away from the car. I'm going to go in and actually bring them in to the car. So that way it just feels like little piles of snow as well. That should wrap up this environment session. Oh, I know why. I know why it's lagging. There we go. And just do more of these types of deals. Sprinkle in something under the car so the way that when it sits, some of the tires are going to be sunk in a little bit, some of them are not. Just to find a little miscellaneous thing. As you can see, because I did use the cylinder, it gets like a pinch in the middle. Could re-topo it and then that will be resolved. All I'm going to do is just kind of avoid that by just offsetting the displacement near it, but not quite there. Like that. As you can see, this one's getting a little too aggressive, so I'm just going to lower them. So I'm going to just turn on RT one last time to see what it looks like. And I'm done. And then I'm going to make a reel. So there we go. What we'll probably do is lower the sun a little bit. Get a little longer shadow going. So now this kind of helps me see what's going on with my materials. My ground is a little dark in comparison to the hills. So let's see what will fix that. So the way to troubleshoot that is you go in, turn everything off. So here's my base snow. Now if I turn the reflection off all the way, or up all the way, I can see what's happening, and really nothing's changing. So what I'm gonna do now is go into the material itself and change the RGB level to 2. And as you can see now, the tones of the hills and the snow are matching, and that's what I want. Now that they match, the rest of these materials are going to start blending in better. So all I'm going to do is the same thing here. Go in, output 2. we go. So now I have a good base of snow. I should put this back on. We get a little tarmac blending in. But now at least my snow feels like it matches the mountains. There we go. And so what I'll do is just copy these materials and paste them as an instance on this. So that way I don't have to redo those UVs. Or not, yeah, the material properties. There we go, done. So that wraps that up. Turn that off. Turn on all my forest pack things. And do one more preview and end the live session. There we go. That feels really cool. Little winter environment for more social media reels. Cool. All right. I am done. Hopefully help someone with something. I mean, I was going to do it regardless. So I figured I was just going to do a live thing. And this snow feels a little too much for me. So I'll just take back the amount. I'll still leave it, but I don't want this much. So 300, I'll do 500. Just so there's less. I'll probably turn on collision as well. That should help clean it up a bit. I don't remember where collision is. I don't use it often. I think it's under areas. I swear it's here somewhere. Distribution, maybe. Yep, here it is. All right. There we go. So throw on a little collision so there's less of that stuff. All right, that's it. I'll do the reel right now. Probably throw another car in here than this Corvette. I just need a stand-in vehicle. But if you guys follow the Tiki Studios Detroit Instagram account, that's where I'm gonna post it on. All right, thanks for watching, everyone.